Hi, Bec Mac here for Popsart, and I am in Opera Queensland's rehearsal studios because a very important special show is being prepared right now, and I'm with the absolutely star and one and only person on the stage, Alexandra Flood. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
It's so good to see you again. We had a great catch-up last year, and you had just started to get your head around this work. It's immense because you're the only person on the stage. As an artist, how do you approach this?
It's not the first time I've done a one-woman show, but I think it's important to say that you see me on stage, but there are so many people behind the stage. I don't even feel alone on stage, really. There's the conductor there with me, holding my hand, metaphorically, the whole orchestra, all of the designers, of course, the director, Patrick. So I think by the time I get on stage, I'll really feel like I've got my family behind me.
Now, I want to hear more about the story, but from what I understand, it is about something, it's universal, that we can all connect with, the sense of being betrayed, of being heartbroken, of being deceived, and potentially being a deceiver. What is the story? Can you give us a little insight into the narrative that you're working within?
Absolutely. So imagine you've just been dumped and your now ex wants to have one final phone call to get some closure. And that's what this is about. They go through discussing how they started dating, the middle of their relationship, why they've broken up. And it's just so heartbreaking, and it's something that I think basically everyone can empathise with.
And within that, the character, like, is she pushed to the edge of her, I guess, her heart and her mind? Like, is she completely devastated? Is that part of the emotions that you take as a journey on?
Yeah, that's something that we're uncovering together in the rehearsal room. If you look at the core material and the text, you certainly see that she's devastated, but one of the beauties of opera is it's up to us to interpret whether we want to see that as full honesty, whether she's being genuine or whether she's maybe being manipulative as well. So I think audiences will probably have to come along and decide for themselves.
And as previously, and I know that Opera Queensland does so much work around bringing these works to the stage in a contemporary theme, in a contemporary space. What kind of, I guess, essence are you spinning on that?
Well, in terms of contemporary space, this piece, even though the play was written in the 30s and the opera then in the 50s, it is so contemporary. This idea that you're on a phone call, that maybe you get disconnected occasionally, that you feel that the connection in the phone is the only thing that you have. At one point, she even admits she took her phone with her to bed, and I know that's something that you know, my partner like chastises me for in bed. So, you know, this is just such a modern and everyday human experience and very relatable.
So in the original work, Jean
Cocteau wrote the play, yeah.
Yes. And that was a really interesting collaboration with himself and the performer. Can you tell us that process? Because it's quite unique and it really informs this work.
Sure. So Jean Cocteau, who wrote the play, was very good friends with Francis Poulenc, who then wrote the opera. And Poulenc was very good friends with Denise Duval. The two of them, she was the soprano who originated the role, the two of them were going through a breakup, not with one another, but separately. And they sort of held each other's hands through this cathartic process of developing this show. And I think that's really nice to know, because it means it's not only a woman's experience. The composer was a man, and this was an experience of his own breakup as well. So I think that shows that it can be like a completely universal experience for the audience as well.
And what a great opportunity for all the artists, but particularly for the singer to be able to weave their story, because often I guess they're more the performer that's placed on the stage after the fact. It feels like the artist is truly present in this. Can you feel that when you step into the role?
Definitely. I mean, the past few days, the process has been sitting together with the director, with the music staff, with the team, and really reading through the piece and saying, oh my gosh, this has happened to me, or oh my gosh, you know how when a guy says this and it makes you feel this? And every single person has contributed some kind of personal experience to our interpretation of this piece. So absolutely, like I'd say it's half me, half Elle, the character.
How great. And bringing it to the stage, like, what's the process of you working with the team, the orchestra? How does the voice and the orchestra work together?
So in this piece, it's really interesting. You can read the orchestra as maybe the guy speaking on the phone, because we never hear what he actually says, so we have to imagine that. The orchestra is either his voice, or the orchestra is kind of highlighting her inner voice and her experience. And we're leaning a little bit more towards that the orchestra has some sort of like violent eruption, and that's actually preempts something that she says. So I think for us, that interaction between voice and orchestra is more to do with her inner emotional life.
I'm so excited by this. I cannot wait to see it because, yeah, as you said, we've all been through these breakups, and I guess if you can't hear his voice, you are bring your own story to what you've heard before and the voice of the others that have spoken to you. So it's a really interesting, complex device, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it also leaves the question mark open. It's easy to read him as a kind of villain, you know, this kind of a-hole who's broken up with someone and leaving her for someone else, actually, marrying someone else the next day.
I've got to say I hate that. Cannot stand. Worst case scenario.
It's not great, but the fact that we don't hear what he says, it does leave this door open to, you know, maybe she's also been a really difficult partner, and there's so much nuance, there's so much grey area in a breakup and who's right and who's wrong. And so there's a space also to interpret him as maybe not a victim, but someone who's also suffering. Yeah.
And finally, I know you're still in formulation of the show, so you really don't know what exactly is coming, which I love because it's in process and it's alive and it's contemporary culture being created right now. But what do you hope audiences will experience coming along to this show?
Oh, it's a big one, Bec. I feel that I just want the audiences to empathise. Well, hopefully I would like them to empathise with the character and in that experience see themselves a little bit. You know, if we can go to the theatre of an evening and we see a performer that holds a mirror up to us and allows us to reflect on our own life, our own experiences, and maybe even have a little bit of catharsis, I think that as artists we've done our job. Yeah.
Well, I think if there's anyone that can do that, it's you. I can't wait to see the works. Thank you so much for your time, and I can't wait.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Bec.